Shalom, shalom. To the 144,000, the elect. Before I get started, let me give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Berkah HaKodash, the one to the apostle nails of great millstone. Peace and blessing to the brothers that are preaching the truth in the four winds of the earth. May Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, have mercy upon you. Alright, just blowing the horn a little, y'all. You see the title. Situation in the Middle East remains tense. I'm on this YouTube channel called Business Basics. It's a YouTube channel. That appears to be biased towards the Iranian regime. And I'm gonna point out certain things, and I'm gonna prove what I'm saying concerning it being biased and using propaganda to spread amongst the people, to give you all that delusion of America being untouchable. All right, so let's get into it.
If Iran doesn't agree to a nuclear deal, quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing. And it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before.
Iran is not very happy about American B-2 bombers and bunker busters sitting right at Iranian doorstep. And that's why Iran is now threatening to attack US bases and US soldiers. Pentagon is not sitting just idly by in the face of these threats. It seems that another aircraft carrier is making its way from Pacific to the Middle East, and that's USS Carl Vinson. Tensions are running extremely high in the Middle East, so let's go over what exactly happened in the last 2 days, starting with Trump's new comments.
President Trump threatening to bomb Iran today after the country rejected his invitation to negotiate directly on Iran's nuclear program. But the president, he didn't stop there, saying he's, quote, pissed off at one of the world's most powerful leaders.
My big preference is we work it out with Iran. But if we don't work it out, bad things are going to happen to Iran.
President Trump warning Iran what's at stake Friday and ramping up threats today, telling NBC News, if Iran doesn't make a deal, there will be bombing like they've never seen before. The threat from President Trump coming a day after Iran rejected direct negotiations with the U.S. and marks an increasingly aggressive tone taken by the president towards Iran in the last month.
We're down to final strokes with Iran. That's going to be an interesting time. And we'll see what happens, but we're down to the final moments. We're at final moments. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon. I'd rather see a peace deal than the other, but the other will solve the problem.
Maybe Iran could ignore rhetoric like this if it was just words alone. But Trump has backed up his warning with action. Before moving forward, if you guys can please hit that subscribe.
No, he has not. Every time he say something, he change up. Say something, change it up. Say something, change it up. And Iran they're not scared of America. The name of this video is it says Pearl Harbor 2.0. Iran ready to bomb U.S. and Navy bases.
Subscribe button down below to keep up with all the geopolitical news like this one. Let's begin. Just a week ago, US has moved around 7 B-2 bombers, roughly 30% of our B-2 fleet, to the Indian Ocean Diego Garcia base. This base is right outside Iranian ballistic missile range, but it's close enough that B-2s can take off, destroy Iranian bunkers storing nuclear facilities, and come back safely.
In the meantime, the U.S. is noticeably building an armada of B-2 and B-52 bombers in the Indian Ocean at the joint U.S.-UK base of Diego Garcia.
Keep in mind the B-2 bomber was essentially built specifically to bomb the nuclear facilities in Iran. They have the capability of lifting what they call a massive ordnance penetrator, the largest bunker buster bomb the United States possesses.
CBN News military analyst Chuck Holton says President Trump's statements are unprecedented.
The real question is, President Trump has said that if Iran does not come to the negotiating table within 2 months, that there will be military strikes. He said that repeatedly, not even equivocating at all, that there will be military strikes on Iran. That's something the United States has not done before, so this would be pretty historic.
Iran announced they would attack the base if the U.S. takes military action against Iran. On Sunday, Iran's supreme leader called for the destruction of Israel.
Now listen to this here, y'all. Hear this out.
It's a religious, moral, and human duty for everyone to work toward removing this wicked criminal entity from the region.
Now, Iranian leadership...
Who is he talking about? He talking about those small hatters over there. He say that what? He say removing this wicked criminal entity from the what? The region. Meaning, you know what it is. When you say removing it, how you going to move? They're not going to just walk. They're not going to be carried off. They're going to be bombed off. So this is Israel. Israelis, should I say.
knows just how powerful...
Let's hear that again, though. I want to hear that again, y'all. Let's hear that again. Wait, it was about... Right here. Let's go hear it again.
Supreme leader called for the destruction of Israel.
It's a religious, moral, and human duty for everyone to work toward removing this wicked criminal entity from the region.
Now, Iranian leadership knows just how powerful B-2 bombers are. You see, just 6 months ago, on October 16, 2024, 2 B-2 stealth bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. They flew 15 hours straight to Yemen, struck 5 targets, destroying underground weapons depots similar to Iranian nuclear facilities. Then, both bombers turned around and flew another 15 hours straight back to Missouri. They did all this while being completely undetected to enemy's radar. This mission was a clear message to Iran. Our B-2s can reach your nuclear facilities whenever we want. And now Trump has moved 30% of our B-2 bomber fleet to the Indian Ocean. Here's more details on this report. This is important because B-2 is the only aircraft that can deliver the massive GBU-57, one of the only bombs that can destroy Iran's nuclear facility at Natanz and Fordow.
Hey, Willie, man. I did a video not too long ago. It was about 3-4 days ago, something like that. They lying, man. This is not true.
Right now, the bomber fleet is stationed at Diego Garcia Air Base, which is roughly 2,000 miles from Iran, making it an ideal location. Far enough to give the US Navy time and space to defend its strategic B-2 bombers from Iranian missiles and drones, and yet close enough for B-2 to strike targets deep within Iran. Carrying 2 GBU-57 bombs that weigh over 13 tons each.
You know what, man? Let me go to my page right quick, right? It's about like a 15-20 second, 15-20 second, 1 second, little clip I wanted you to see, what y'all to see, right? These people lying, man. Damn, hold up, y'all. YouTube taking a whole lot of time. Here we go. Let's go to the content. Let's do this right quick. Let me show you something here. Then when you get this little clip is 22 seconds right here. Let me show you something right here. Let me show you this something right here, y'all. Listen to this right here. Well, first, let's go back here. Where I want to go? Damn, I want to go back. No, let's go on into it because I've been clicked off of it. Listen to this right here, y'all. Concerning what this is Middle East. I named this video Middle East American troops are in glass houses. This is what he's saying about. Listen to what he says about. And on 21 seconds, 22 seconds, right? What he's saying about American Air Force bases that's surrounding Iran. He said the Americans have at least 10 bases and 50,000 forces near Iran. This means they are what? Sitting in a glass room. Huh? They can be reached like nothing. They're sitting in a glass room. Right? And that means that that's just like if they had bases, let's say Iran had bases outside of America. They can't beat America like that. With some bases. You got bases not in their homeland. That's just like Russia. That's why Russia is still it's winning the war. Because why? Because they're on their turf. And they willing. They real willing. Hear that.
منطقه حداقل در اطراف ایران 10 پایگاه دارن 50,000 نفر نیرو هم دارن یعنی در یک اتاق.
He says someone sitting in a glass room would not throw rocks at others. He's talking about the Air Force bases outside of Iran that the United States have.
اتاقک شیشه‌ای نشستن کسی که تو اتاقک شیشه‌ای هست سمت کسی سنگپرانی نمیکنه.
See, the IRGC commander warns that U.S. forces in Middle East are sitting in a glass house. So, man, they willing, man. They are truly, truly, truly willing. Now, let's get back over here to where he, what this joker said. Let me click back a few. Hold up. Y'all bear with me. Okay. Bear with me, y'all. That's YouTube. I got...
Atera is the IT painkiller. Remote monitoring and management.
Well, here we go with the commercial, y'all. Let's hear this again, right? What this guy said concerning
which is roughly 2,000.
Right here, that bag is up a little bit. Where we at? That bag up a little bit. Listen to this here now.
Whenever we want. And now Trump has moved 30% of our B-2 bomber fleet to the Indian Ocean. Here's more details on this report. This is important because B-2 is the only aircraft that can deliver the massive GBU-57, one of the only bombs that can destroy Iran's nuclear facility at Natanz.
They don't even know where it at. They don't even know how deep it is. They don't know how deep it is. They don't know if they can reach it or what. So, they willing. I've done a couple videos on this here and concerning the overall them having ways of getting to those what they call sonic missiles. They willing, man. And like I say, this station right here, this business basic channel or YouTube channel, it's biased. It's being biased toward Iranian regime. Listen.
And Bordeaux. Right now, the bomber fleet is stationed at Diego Garcia Air Base, which is roughly 2,000 miles from Iran, making it an ideal location. Far enough to give the U.S. Navy time and space to defend its strategic B-2 bombers from Iranian missiles and drones, and yet close enough for B-2 to strike targets.
See, now they're saying that they're what? That they can't reach the 2,000 miles. Iran can't reach 2,000 miles outside of their land, of their homeland, to this right here, to reach the those aircrafts and the Navy ship that's sitting outside of Iran as well. They're lying. They just making it up as they go.
It's deep within Iran, carrying 2 GBU-57 bombs that weigh over 13 tons each. The B-2 has a range of over 45,000 miles. The 9 KC-135 air refueling tankers also stationed at Diego Garcia give the stealth bomber the range to conduct bombing raids on Iran from any direction. Over 100 U.S. F-35, F-15, and F-18 fighters are stationed in the UAE, Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and abroad, the USS Truman.
And then, like they said, they're in glass houses. They can all of them can be reached. They can be reached. They in Iran, man. I mean, they're in their region. You can't whoop them definitely can't whoop them in their region, man. Can't do it. And the most important thing is that what? Now Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai with Iran. Just as when in the days of old, when these devils, which Esau, even the so-called white man, gained control of the earth, the law was with him. The Heavenly Father, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, was with him as well. And to back that up, what that is, 45 and 7. Isaiah 45 and 7. I formed the light and created darkness. I make peace and I create evil. Who is the wicked of the earth? The evil of the earth. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. I the Lord Yahweh, do all these things. So he's what? Again, the Lord is with Iran in what? In these last days, because they have what? They have to what? Excuse me, y'all. They have prophecy to what? To manifest.
Can strike targets inside Iran. A surprise attack against Iran could quickly devastate its nuclear and ballistic missile sites. Iran possesses a vast arsenal of ballistic missiles and drones, but these are limited in range and must be programmed.
See, lying. They're unlimited. They are what? They are limited in range and must be what? Programmed with a precise coordinate. So which one is it? This is contradicting right here. But they are limited in range. You say limited in range mean they can't reach. But he say what? It must be what? Programmed with precise coordinates. If the what? The U.S. keeps its assets well protected. You know, if the U.S. keeps its assets well protected or frequently relocates, then Iran will what? Will struggle to what? To strike effectively. Yeah, okay. Okay.
With precise coordinates. If the U.S. keeps its assets well protected or frequently relocates them, Iran.
Man, they would have been blow Iran off the map, man. If this is true, they would have been U.S. would have been did it. Israel would have done it. They would have been done it if they could do it. They're not able to do it. The lies they tell, man. The confusion that they have amongst the people. Let's just hear it out, y'all.
Iran would struggle to strike effectively. Now this last part is the important one because many people do claim that Iran is not really our enemy, and that's just not true. Either they are misinformed or they are spreading misinformation. Because Iran chants death to America every single day in their parliament. And here we have Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, who has vowed to destroy America, clarifying the slogan that Iran chants, death to America. He says that it's not a slogan, it's a policy. This is as clear as it gets. Watch the clip yourself.
The situation between America and Iran is this. When you chant death to America, it is not just a slogan, it is a policy.
Is this the best?
1 second, y'all. They know when to bring them commercials up.
I have stated the reasons previously. For many years, from the 1940s to the 1970s, that is 30 years, the Americans did everything they could do against the Iranian nation.
Notice how he didn't read this right here. The Americans did everything they could do against the Iranian nation.
They hit Iran any way they could. Financially, economically, politically, scientifically, and morally. If it were not for America's support, if it were not for the support of U.S. weapons, the corrupt and artificial Zionist regime would have been destroyed in the first week. It would have collapsed.
Let me read that because he's not going to read it. The corrupt and artificial Zionist regime, who are talking about, the small hatters, would have been destroyed in the first week.
The Americans are behind this. In Western countries, in England, France, Italy,
it would have collapsed. The Americans are what? Are behind this.
And various U.S. states, people took to the streets in large numbers, chanting slogans against Israel and in many cases against America. This tarnished Western reputation. They really do not have any remedy for this. They cannot make excuses for this. That is why we saw some idiot saying that Iran was behind the rallies in England. Perhaps the Passage of London is behind this. Or maybe the Passage of Paris.
Iran has also come out with its own warning ever since we have moved more of our firepower to Middle East and Western Asia. Here we have statement from Tehran Times, a state-owned media if I'm not incorrect, but this is what they said. Iran's hypersonic ballistic missiles are loaded onto launchers in secure under...
See that? Iran's hypersonic ballistic missiles. And they say they can't reach 2,000 miles. The lies they tell are loaded onto launchers in secure underground missiles bases and are ready to launch against all U.S. bases in the Middle East, including Diego Garcia.
Underground missile bases are ready to launch against all U.S. bases in the Middle East, including Diego Garcia. Now, this is a perfect example of it's easier to make threats, but it's harder to execute them. Because in reality, Iran doesn't really have any ballistic missiles that have the range to reach Diego Garcia, as you can see from
the lies they tell. Look it up.
This report here. The IRGC Aerospace has no ballistic missile capable of reaching Diego Garcia from Iran, which is roughly 2,000 miles, 3,800 kilometers. Their threats about targeting the airbase and B-2 bombers are empty. They currently have absolutely no capabilities of targeting the island. And this is the exact reason why we stationed the B-2 fleet at that island.
What is that right there? This is Iran here. They say they don't have none, but he had a nerve to show this right here.
At the Iranian doorstep, meaning it's out of their reach, it's out of their sphere of influence or range of missiles. This is exactly why Iran has also promised to target other US bases that we have in the Middle East. Here we have a statement from Iranian Supreme Leader that came out just few hours before I started recording. An attack from the outside is unlikely, but if they make a mistake, they will certainly suffer a heavy blow. Now, this likely refers to Iranian ability to attack a US base. They did this back in 2020 when Trump eliminated Hossein Soleimani, the Iranian Major General, and in return, or in revenge, I guess, in retaliation, Iran attacked US bases in Middle East. Iran fired more than a dozen ballistic missiles at 2 American bases in Iraq that were housing US forces, but no casualties or death were reported because of this strike.
Was reported. Was. The lie. Let's get some precepts, y'all. Let's go into Ezekiel 38. I'm going to start at the top. And the word of the Lord, Yahweh, came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog. Gog is what? The people. The land of Magog. Magog is the land. The chief prince. Who is the chief prince? That's Russia's president. Of what? Of Meshach. Meshach was Turkey. And Tubal. Tubal is what? I think it's Armenia. I'm not sure on that, but I think I'm right. And Tubal and what? And prophesy against him. and say, thus said the Lord God Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O God. This is Russia. This is Russia now. They were the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Now, understand that Meshach and Tubal is in the land of what? Of Turkey. In what? In Armenia. So, things are gonna what? Gonna gradually lean toward the east. In the east are gonna, most of the allies, which Trump has already, most of U.S. allies, which is NATO and EU, they hate the whore, and that whore is who? Is America. So they hate her. So, and the hatred is getting what? Just getting worse and worse, deeper and deeper, and soon, real soon, they're going to what? It's gonna unfold just as what the scriptures have said. It's going to unfold. Now, before I go to forward this to a limo.
It was all but a show of retaliation. Now, that's not to say that Iran doesn't have capabilities to deal a bigger blow to US bases in Middle East. In fact, just a few days ago, Iran published their own promotional video, I guess, where they showed off a new missile city that they had just built. Here's more details on that.
Now, this guy just said they ain't have no missiles or anything to attack, right? What the hell is this? Let's pause that. The underground missile base appears to show thousands of short to long-range ballistic missiles as well as anti-ship cruise missiles. But they can't reach 2,000 miles though. Oh man, these devils, man. I told this channel here is biased as hell, and they're just trying to uplift and trying to keep the confusion. They don't want people. They don't want Iran to react for real, because America, they're not untouchable in these times. The video released by the semi-officials Tishnim news agency shows Iranian officials visiting the site in the back of a military off-road vehicle. Well, let them tell them they don't have any. They don't have no missiles to reach those bases. You know, the little short clip I showed you in the 22-second clip concerning the general saying, that general of Iran, I think it was a general, general of Iran, I don't know his name, was saying that they're in a glass house, man, because they can be reached like that. So they lying, as usual, you know. Read this. Iran has released several similar videos, right? That is, I don't know what I say. Sent a months. I'm gonna read it verbatim. Seemingly in response to U.S. and nuclear deal threat against its nuclear sites. Real quick, let's get Jeremiah 50 and verse 3. For out of the north, which is Russia, there cometh up a nation against her, which what shall make her land desolate. This right here what had this hadn't happened yet to ancient Babylon. Haven't happened to ancient Babylon. So guess what? This is a future prophecy. And none shall dwell therein. They shall depart both man and beast.
Now, this can definitely escalate, and that's why there are other options on the table when it comes to dealing with Iran. And one of that is putting tariffs on countries that are supporting the Iranian economy and Iranian nuclear facilities, basically. So what this would mean that if China is buying oil from Iran, Trump would slap a 25% tariff on top of all the tariff China already has. So there would be another 25% tariff that China would have. And because of that, all the exports coming out of China will be extremely expensive to bring it into the U.S. market. Here's Trump sharing more details on that.
We'll get that done. And the Middle East, a lot of things are happening with respect to Iran. And we'll see if we can get something done. And if not, it's going to be a bad situation. Very, very bad.
Oil sanctions that you mentioned today, when will they start?
So we have a couple. We have the secondary tariffs on Iran, and we'll probably give it a couple of weeks, and if we don't see any progress, we're going to put them on. We're not putting them on right now, but if you remember, I did that 6 years ago, and it worked very well, to put it mildly. And
see, DJ Trump, y'all, he's banking on the other nations to what? To take part in the sanctions. What he say, but you know, the countries have not been moving and doing what America has been saying within the latter times, right? They're not doing it, and they're not going to do it, right? Because you know that over on the other side, in the east, you got Russia, you got Iran, you got I think India too. Concerning the BRICS, you had the BRICS. So this is what Trump is banking on, the fear, you know, the confusion that they put in the news for people to because these depends on what news channel you're watching, which most of them is biased towards. I mean, it's always uplifting the Americans, U.S. should I say U.S. military as being unstoppable to anyone, all people, right? But this is in these times. This is not the case. This is not the case because America will be destroyed, man. They're going to be destroyed by the same said missiles that they're trying to use and trying to have make fear of other nations concerning these step bombers, what they call them, bunker busters. That's what they call them. And they say, in other words, they don't know how. I read a video. I seen a video earlier. They said, how deep can it go concerning these missiles, right? To why Iran can never stop us bunker buster bombs. They don't know that. They don't know how deep it is. You know, they're what? They're guessing. If that's a word. Yeah, my.
If the election weren't rigged, you would have a situation where there would be no problem with Iran today. But it was. Biden didn't know what he was doing, obviously. And we have a very rough situation in the Middle East because of that. You ended up with October 7th. And you would have never had October 7th, and you would have never had Russia going into Ukraine likewise. But we're going to make a decision on secondary tariffs on Iran based on whether or not they're going to make a deal. If they're going to make a deal, then we're never going to put secondary.
In fact, U.S. has already... It's here. This is it.
So like here, let them do what they do. Can't never stop that commercial no more. So. There you go.
Already starting implementing this strategy. US has sanctioned first Chinese teapot refinery over links to dealing with Iran. This refinery is named Shandong Shaogong Luking Petrochemical Company. I'm sure I mispronounced that, but we'll show it on the screen. It's not one of the largest processor in China, but it is one of the largest companies that's dealing with Iran. In fact, the US Treasury Department says that this company has purchased millions of barrels of Iranian oil valued at approximately $500 million. For an economy like Iran's, that's a lot of money, and getting hit with these sanctions is definitely going to be a big blow for the Chinese company and Iran's economy. This seems to be just a taste of things to come if Iran doesn't come to the negotiating table, and this is something that Putin may be forced to deal with, because Trump has made it clear that if Putin doesn't come to the table, Putin will be hit with the same secondary sanctions, where Trump will not...
See, you gotta get Russia involved. They're banking on Russia and China to not deal with, to isolate. In other words, to isolate Iran. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So, you know, for those of you that's not biased like most of these news channels are when reporting and giving facts and not guesstimating lies and making lies concerning the overall who's gaining in what when it comes to nuclear warfare. This is Ezekiel 30. No. Let me read this. Very quick. Which is verse 4, which is Jeremiah 50:4. In those days and in that time, saith the Lord Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah. This has not happened, right? That didn't happen. It's going. Because where is it that we was oppressed together? America. And going and weeping, and they shall go and seek the Lord Yahweh, their God. Right? That's right now. We are humbling ourselves to what? To the true and living God, which is Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Yahweh Shah or by Hashem Yahweh Shah, right? To our God. Right? Not no damn Jesus Christ. Not no damn Most High Christ bless. If you're claiming, if you still claiming your oppressor's name and image, you're a fool. you as a fool, a sottish children, a child, which is stupid. You are stupid. That's what you are. If you are still running around here top screaming and to the top of your lung talking about some damn Jesus, madness, man.
Be targeting Russia or Russian economy itself, but rather going after allies who are supporting the Russian war efforts. So Trump will put tariffs on countries like China, India, who are buying Russian oil and pumping money into the Russian economy so Putin can continue this war. Once these countries face the risk of tariffs, they will be more careful or full-on reject buying Russian oil. Because at the end of the day, they need the US market way more than they need the Russian oil. Here were Trump's comments on this.
Just hours ago, President Trump called me to tell me he is, quote, pissed off with Russia's President Putin and threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russia's oil. Quote, if Russia and I are unable to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, I am going to put secondary tariffs on all oil coming out of Russia. Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs on Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, I was very angry, pissed off when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credit.
How is America, y'all? America putting all these tariffs on these nations. How y'all doing? How y'all doing over here in America, y'all? Since the U.S. is in so much control. We living and eating good over here, huh? Everything cheap. We got everything at our disposal. Nothing is closing down. That's a joke. You know that, right?
credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine.
Do you think your relationship with Vladimir Putin is at its lowest point right now?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. You're talking about Putin. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. I've known him for a long time. We've always gotten along well, despite the Russia hoax. It's a hoax created by Clinton and Schiff and all of these lunatics. And that really was a dangerous point. That was a very dangerous thing they did to this country. It was a pure, unadulterated scam, hoax. But no, I think he'll be okay.
YouTube just dropped a mind-boggling announcement. It is paying creators $64 million per day. Why? Well, because YouTube doesn't have enough creators right now. That's why you see videos on your homepage that have less than 1,000 views, like this one. Now, of course, that doesn't mean everyone should start a channel. But if you have ever wondered about starting a...
No, because if you preaching the true gospel, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh and talking about and preaching what I'm preaching, guess what? They're going to tear you down. If you got thousands of subscribers, tens of thousands of subscribers, guess what? You're going to be tore down. You're not going to have a whole lot of subscribers. You're not going to have a whole lot of views. Because why? Because it's the truth. The truth is going to always be attacked by what? By YouTube and outside and these others. But you know, YouTube is that main portal to what? I mean, you got what that mess is, TikTok, but you know, all you got is a bunch of Eves on there dancing around and shaking their behind on that thing. But you know, YouTube is controlled. This is why they're getting them people. You know, the money is nothing, man. This money is nothing. It's on the computer. They can see what they want. They can send everybody $1 million and still what? It's on the computer. Hey, these people, they know how to control these jakes over here, man, with their FRN, with the Federal Reserve notes, which is ain't gonna be around long. It's not gonna be around long.
A YouTube channel or a faceless channel, now is the perfect time. YouTube is paying creators millions every single day.
To do what? To misinformation. Stop you from saying certain things. If you say something that you shouldn't be saying, then what are they gonna do? They're gonna take a channel. Huh? This is what they do. Speak against those small hatters and how they came about and got the land and this and that, you know, go in detail about that, then guess what? You're gonna be X'd out. All these people, you see all these people with these big, large YouTube channels and thousands, tens of thousands of views, then guess what? They're doing the devil's bidding, man. They're not doing the Lord's bidding, because the Lord's bidding, you can basically believe the wicked outnumber the righteous, and the wicked. Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hands of the wicked. The wicked controls the earth. So most of the people that's in these larger crowds and on these larger platforms, they working with what? They working with this devil, man.
And it's pushing newer and smaller channels now more than ever. But I'm sure you have many questions on how to start and grow a channel. I get these questions in my email all the time from some of you guys. That's why we have decided to put all our YouTube advice into one training bootcamp for completely free. So if you're someone interested in starting your own YouTube channel, you can sign up for this bootcamp by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code on your screen. This bootcamp is like a Zoom call, so it is limited to 100 people at a time. So be sure to... Where they're stationing 11,000 troops on the border with Belarus, and Lithuania plans to just mine the whole border they have with Belarus and Russia, just, you know, defensive measures. And Polish Prime Minister said that maybe Poland should seek nuclear protection since NATO deterrence is probably getting weaker with the new U.S. administration. Do you think now that U.S. is pulling back from NATO a little bit, the world will become like, we'll have more and more countries looking towards nuclear proliferation?
Well, this is an excellent point. This is one of the downsides, or the potential downsides, of perceived U.S. disengagement. If nations are not confident that the United States will provide the nuclear deterrent, we're not talking about U.S. troops on the ground, we're talking about nuclear deterrence against Russia.
if nations, they look at Russia, they see the threat from Russia, they see that if Ukraine is allowed to fail, that Russia will be at.
See, that's Gog. Gog is the people. Magog is the land. That's Russia, y'all. Russia is being a guard over that portion of that side, which is the east. Just like of America, which is that whole, which is the Babylon. They're being a guard over what? Wars over what? The European nations / NATO.
At their door in the next 2 or 3 years, then they, of course, are going to worry about having a nuclear deterrent. France has several hundred nuclear warheads, as does the UK. The French have always maintained a sovereignty over their nuclear weapons. Where
see, these people, all these people, what? They're not with America right now. They are against America. So the overall, what's that? Ezekiel 38 and 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into what? Thy jaws. And I will bring them forth in all thy armies, horses, and horsemen. Meaning what? Horsemen, we don't ride horses no more for warfare. Those are missiles. Because the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, are going to force them to do what? To do His will. Let's hear a little more, then I'm going to hit this precept, and a couple more, then I'm going to close it out.
Whereas the UK is part of NATO and the U.S. nuclear planning group. So if the U.S. were to back away from this commitment, and I actually don't think we will, but if we did, then you would not have.
1 second, y'all. These tramps, they put these tramps on here so quick. Let's get this mess off here.
Huge disadvantage in terms of numbers, but I don't think you have to match Russia warhead for warhead to have a nuclear deterrent. The Russians just have to believe that the French and or the Brits would use a nuclear weapon if necessary.
See that? Russia. Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog, y'all. The people, the land.
Necessary. So, but because of all this uncertainty, you can imagine why Poland and some other countries are beginning to ask the question, do we need to have our own? And that would be a shame. That would be a diplomatic failure for the United States, that now nations would break the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty because they felt they had no choice.
Yeah, and I know we're getting close to the end, so I'll just have this last question, and it relates to Middle East a little bit. Trump has started basically making sure that Houthis from Yemen cannot attack commercial ships. Do you think that could be successful without putting U.S. boots on the ground, considering how the Middle East fighting goes on?
Yeah, I don't know what plans U.S. Central Command has developed, nor should I know how they would plan to do this.
Look, man, we're in the times of boots on the ground. We're not winning wars, right? There's going to be a nuclear war. What that is, Revelation 16 and 16, and he gathered what? Them together into a place called what? In the Hebrew tongue called what? Armageddon. Right? Meaning the war of troops. Yahweh Shaphat. Right? For judgment. So, this not going to be a long, drawn out destruction for what? For America. America is going to be destroyed within 1 hour.
I don't know how they're going to do this. We have tried the approach of missile strikes against known Houthi locations. We have escorted. We've had the great U.S. Navy and the Royal Navy and others allies out in the Red Sea, trying to protect shipping, launching strikes against Houthis. But I think that the only way you really eliminate the Houthis as a threat is you have to eliminate Iran.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
So that Iran cannot support them. And the way you do that, of course, is by defeating Russia, because Iran has no real friend other than Russia. So if you defeat Russia, Iran is isolated much weaker, and then they are less capable of helping the Houthis. So I think a strategic approach that involves defeating Russia first.
See, he's on point, but he don't know prophecy. He do not know prophecy, y'all. He would not do not know prophecy. So let me click this thing back here because I want to get something right quick. I want to get a certain image. Where was I, y'all? I'll leave it right there. Okay, let me hit verse 4 again, go down, and I'm going to close it out. And I will, this is Ezekiel 38 and 4 again, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, of what? Of the nations. Because why? Again, he's going to force them to do what? His will, which is what? Destroy one another. But America is going to get that destruction like no other, them in what? In Israel. And I will bring forth thee. And I will bring thee forth in all thy armies and horses and horsemen. Again, we don't ride horses no more. What? These are missiles. This war. This is going to be a war of blasting. Large numbers of people are going to die in this blasting. America, everyone will get destroyed over here in America, man, except for the 1/3 of the children of Israel. All of them clothed with what? With all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all them handling what? Swords. The modern day swords today is the gun. But in wars, we would. In this war, there would not be your average shooter, which is a gun. We're going to be what? Missiles. Persians. That's the Persians are what? Is Iran. Ethiopia is Cush. Libya is who? Who is Libya, y'all? I can't think of it right now. Libya and with them, all of them, with the what? With the shield and helmet. Gomer, that's the land of Turkey. And all the what? All the bands, meaning what? They're militaries. The house of Togarmah, that's Turkish as well. Of the north quarters and all his bands, and many peoples with thee. Those bands again is what? It's a military power, military forces, right? Because they all are what? They all are with Russia. All of them will be with Russia, y'all. Verse 7. Be thou prepared of Ezekiel 38 and 7. Be thou prepared, and prepare for what? Thyself, thou, and all thy what? Thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou what? A guard unto them. That's Russia. Meaning, watch over them. So I'm going to close it out right there. So that don't say, Call Halal Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rokah HaKodash, Shalom.